Arcadian Vanguard presents the Wrestling News in your daily wrestling newscast for Wednesday, March 15th, 2023. Good morning, I'm Mike Sempervive. We begin with last night's NXT broadcast live on the USA Network from the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, Florida. The show closed with a contract signing between NXT champion Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes for their upcoming match WrestleMania weekend at NXT Stand and Deliver. The signing was moderated by Pretty Deadly, who were laid out by both Breaker and Hayes to end the show.
Wait. Where are you going? No. People come here for drama. That's not enough. You can't just leave. No. Come on, we need something. We need to see something. Give us some drama. Give us some drama, please.
Give the people what they...
Oh, there it is. Oh, a little bit of drama. Come on.
Earlier on the show, Johnny Gargano making his return to NXT after 15 months, brawled with Grayson Waller in a pre-taped segment filmed at Gargano's house, with Waller leaving Gargano laying in front of his wife Candice LeRae and their son.
This is your husband, huh? This is your dad, Quill, and you're proud of this man. He ain't the same no more.
Come on. Careful. Stop. Careful. No.
Gargano and Waller will also face off at Stand and Deliver. NXT Tag Team Champions Gallus retained against Pretty Deadly, who were previous title holders. In the Women's Tag Team division, Isla Dawn and Alba Fire emerged victorious in a three-way match to determine new number one contenders to the NXT Women's Tag Team titles. In the first two qualifying matches to determine the participants in a Stand and Deliver ladder match to crown a new NXT Women's Champion, Zoe Stark defeated Sol Ruca and Gigi Dolan pinned Kiana James. Fire and Dawn attempted to attack James after the match, but Brooks Jensen made the save. Also on the show, Dabba-Kato pinned Apollo Crews. In WWE news, the former Bella Twins have parted ways with the company according to an announcement yesterday on their podcast, The Nikki and Bree Show. Going forward, they will no longer be known under the Bella name and instead will be using their birth name of Garcia.
Our listeners and everyone in the world right now is asking why? Why? You had this amazing name that you got from your grandfather, Pop-Pop, who'd always call us my Bellas. And so why after 17 years is that gone? Bree and I, almost 40. We're going to be 40 in November. We're mothers. We're entrepreneurs. We're executive producers. We're starring now. We're hosting shows. And when our contract came up with WWE, mutually we all knew that we just needed to head into this new chapter.
Nikki explained during the podcast that their contracts had recently come up and both decided not to renew. Bree and Nikki had been scheduled to appear on the Raw 30th anniversary episode last January, but reportedly did not appear due to creative differences. It is not known if pro wrestling will still be in their future, although they were recently backstage at AEW Revolution with Bree's husband, Bryan Danielson. In ratings news, Monday Night Raw drew its lowest audience in 2 months with an average of 1.705 million tuning in for last Monday's show on the USA Network, according to Showbuzz Daily. That total is down nearly 7% from last week's 1.827 million. In the hourly breakdown, Hour 1 drew 1.779 million viewers, dropping to 1.760 million for Hour 2, and falling further to 1.575 million for the final hour, for a cumulative loss of 204,000 viewers over the course of the show. The rating in the key 18 to 49-year-old demographic was 0.53, up slightly from last week's 0.52, according to WrestleNomics. That rating represents 691,000 viewers. The episode came in second place for the evening on cable TV in the key demo, down from first place last week. This was the least watched episode of Raw since January 16th. The most recent episodes of Biography, WWE Legends, and WWE Rivals on A&E drew record low audiences, with the Kane episode of Legends drawing the smallest viewership of all 3 seasons of the show, and the Triple H vs. Batista episode of Rivals being seen by the second lowest viewership in both seasons of that show, according to Showbuzz Daily. The Kane episode of Legends drew 383,000 viewers, down more than 20% from the previous week's Legends Biography episode on China, which drew 481,000. The rating in the key 18 to 49-year-old demographic was 0.13, down from 0.14 for the China episode, according to WrestleNomics. Last Sunday's Triple H vs. Batista episode of Rivals drew 287,000 viewers, down more than 25% from the previous week's Rivals episode on John Cena and The Rock, which drew 387,000. The rating in the key demographic was 0.09, down from 0.12 for the Rock-Cena episode, according to WrestleNomics. In Major League Wrestling news, the Samoan SWAT team of Juicy Finau and Lance Anoa'i won the MLW World Tag Team title from Hustle and Power on last night's episode of MLW Underground on Reels in a match taped January 7th at the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia. Hustle and Power, the team of Calvin Tankman and EJ Naduka, had held the title since February of 2022, making them the second longest reigning MLW World Tag Team champions, behind only Marshall and Ross Von Erich. Also on the show, Lince Dorado retained the MLW middleweight title against La Estrella, and Ricky Shane Page defeated Mance Warner. In news from Japan, the team of ATM, Black Mensore, and Takao Omori defeated Gunganir of Anarchy and Black Tiger to win the vacant All Japan Pro Wrestling TV 6-man tag team title on night 1 of All Japan's Dream Power Series yesterday in Tokyo. The title had been vacant since June of last year when the previous holders, Seigo Tachibana, Takayuki Ueki, and Yoshitatsu of Yoshitatsu Kingdom disbanded their team. Also on the card, All Japan World Junior Heavyweight Champion Naruki Doi successfully defended his title against Rising Hayato. And before we leave you today, we'd like to remind you that however you consume your content, you can find the wrestling news 24 hours a day and 7 days a week across social media. On Twitter, follow us at Wrestling News AV. Our Facebook page is also Wrestling News AV. The Wrestling News can also be found on the Arcadian Vanguard YouTube page. And for those who utilize Amazon Echo devices, just tell Alexa to play the Wrestling News podcast. And remember to make sure you add podcast at the end. Once again, for daily updates, breaking news, and more, follow the Wrestling News across social media. And that's the news for today. If anything happens, we will be here to tell you about it. No clickbait, no paywall, just the Wrestling News. The Wrestling News is a division of Arcadian Vanguard, and the Wrestling Newscast is a production of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network.